Govinda ki jai. Dali Vishnu Vishnu Paramahamsa Guruvata Saryaskata Sata Shri Srimad Abhayacharya Vrinda Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Dali Vishnu Vishnu Paramahamsa Guruvata Saryaskata Sata Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Gurudev ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Vincigo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Sri Advaita Dharaj Vasudeva, Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Shri Radha Krishna Bhokavadina Shamakunda Radha Kunda, Giri Govardhan ki jai, Shri Vrindavan ki jai, Gurudev ki jai, Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Samagata Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Dai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juda Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Giryam Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaudatrishe Namaha Nityanandam Namastubhyam Premananda Pradayane Kalo Kalamashanashaya Janava Pataye Namaha Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityanando Sahodito Gaudaudaye Pushpavanto Chitro Shamdo Tamonudo Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatam Suruto Pangor Mama Mandamater Gati Matsarvasva Padambojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadha Srimad Ratanagar Singhashanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prishtalibhi Sevyamano Smarami Shivan Rasara Sarambhi Vamshivata Tatakstitaha Karshan Venu Swanayir Gopir Gopinata Shriye Stunaha Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Lakshay Kshiptascha Kamadi Taranga Madhye Kripa Mai Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Numaste Charanaravindam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Asto Tarasata Sri Srila, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta, Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Ashtatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa, Ashtatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Then I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Shri Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga. And then I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams to all of the Vaishnavas and all of the Vaishnavis. Yes, so we completed verse 8, commentary. Of course, you can never complete it. You have to read it again and again. Let it sink in.
More potency.
Do you ever experience that? That things sink in? It takes time? Huh? I experienced that. You read it, okay, then you read it again. And repeat it repeatedly. Even these same shlokas that we say every day for pranam and mangala charan. No, they take on more meaning. And I think that the key is, chanada pisuni chena, tarada pisahishna. When will that day come that we actually have that mood? Because that is really the only way. When we say this is the only way, that is the only way. There is absolutely no possibility of someone attaining all these things without Shuddhana. We cannot be in the stage of Namaparad and even Nam Abbas and think that we are going to attain all these treasures that our acharyas are waiting to give us. But if we have that mood, if somehow we can, not easy thing, somehow we can chant with pure heart and total humility, no false ego. Yeah, bearing our soul. Then there can be some chance to move forward. But we are trying, right? We're trying. And that's the main thing. You don't stop trying. Because if you stop trying, then what has occurred? What actually occurred if you stop trying?
Go backwards.
Yeah, true, can go backwards. But what really happened? Become covered, isn't it? Become covered. And that covering is so subtle that as you're being covered, you don't realize it. So that's why we have to be sincere. That's the only hope for us. Because we don't have other qualifications, actually. But sincerity we have. That's what Srila Prabhupada told also about his Western devotees. They don't know much, but they're very sincere. So through that sincerity, everything can come. But it has to be not, show bottle. Not show bottle sincerity. That won't work, because that's not sincerity. What is that?
Hypocrisy.
Yeah, deceitfulness and hypocrisy. Apatya and kutimati, those two. So, the study of the Manasiksha, this is what it's all about. Is detecting in your own self, in your own bhajan. And Raghunath Das Goswami himself is, addressing his mind. How deceitful you are, how full of hypocrisy you are. But he does it in a polite way in the beginning. My dear brother, I'm falling at your feet, and I'm holding on to your feet, and I'm requesting you, just give up all pride. That's the first request in the Manasiksha. Sada dambam hitva. Always, sada dambam hitva. Give up all pride. And that's not enough to just give up pride. No. We want on the positive side to develop what? What does he ask for in the first verse?
Attachment to
Rati. Rati. Affection. That's what we want. That our mind will cooperate with us and develop affection for all these places and personalities that we need to attain our perfection. Guru, Goshte, Goshtalaishu, Sujane, Bushuragane, Swamantre, Sri Namni, Brajanavayuva Dvanva Sharane. All the way up to the youthful couple of Braj, Radha and Krishna. Braja Navayuva Dvanva Sharane. The shelter of their lotus feet. So, in the end of the last paragraph of the 8th verse, I want to read that again. Srila Gurudev, yes, we'll go back to the verse also. Verse 8. Okay. This is the prayer of Raghunath Das Goswami directly to Srimati Radhika. This is a direct prayer. Devi dukkha kula sagaro dare duyamanam ati durgatam janam tvam kripa prabalanaukayadbhutam prapaya swapada pankajalayam. O Devi, please rescue this unfortunate person drowning in an ocean of pain. Place him on the strong boat of your mercy and carry him to the wonderful realm of your lotus feet. So here, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami is admitting that he is a very unfortunate person, like we were discussing yesterday. He is considering himself unfortunate. Why? Because he's drowning in an ocean of pain. But that pain, that ocean of pain, is separation from Srimati Radhika. So he's praying to Srimati Radhika that she will place him on the strong boat of her mercy. Yes, otherwise he'll drown. And carry him where? To the wonderful realm of your lotus feet. Prapaya swapada, your own lotus feet, pankajalayam. Pankaja means lotus. So, at the end of Gurudev's commentary here, there's a section titled, Is Our Greed Real or Not? Because prior to that, Gurudev really very clearly told about what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written in his book called the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Siksha. And he is quoting in that book from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and he is discussing Rasa Siksha. What does that mean? Rasa Siksha.
Teachings about the mellows of devotional service.
Yes. Being instructed on the subject matter of Rasa Tattva. What is Ras? And this is being referenced from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu of Rupa Goswami. So he explains that when those who only know material sense enjoyment, that's all they know, is material sense enjoyment, and they do not know the transcendental mellow of divine love. So when they hear the name of Madhurya Rasa and some stories from here and there, they have two kinds of ideas. First, some think that if one practices the sadhana to obtain this particular rasa, he will fall down. Remember? That was from yesterday. They think like that. Have we encountered that misunderstanding? Have we encountered that?
The Gopi Baba Club?
Well, yeah, you could say that. Although that's not really, I mean, Srila Prabhupada was warning, certainly. But the devotees' attempt was quite innocent. That was not what they were thinking, that if we read these books, we'll fall down. No. But, so, the first one thinks that if someone practices the sadhana to obtain this particular rasa, he will fall down. If he tries to practice the sadhana to obtain this rasa, then he will fall down. And the second class of persons have faith, but they think that nobody is qualified to have this. They have faith, but they think that there's no one that's qualified to have this. So now the term Sahajiya. So a Sahajiya is one who has some Shraddha, but he has not reached the stage of Rati or Bhav. So far, we fit into that category. Let's see what else is there. Rati. What is Rati? It is Vishuddha Sattva. It is not material. Absolutely Vishuddha Sattva, Rati. And that means Bhav. It does not come from the heart of the sadhak. That's not where it comes from. It has to come down from the heart of a ragatmik bhakta, an eternal associate of Radha and Krishna. Rati is not in our hands. Actually, I remember reading this recently, that in that stage prior to Bhav, there's no amount of endeavor to force it to happen. It cannot happen. Right? Because it's not in our hands. It has to be bestowed. When those personalities are sufficiently pleased with our efforts, only then. But it's not a matter of doing X amount of effort and then Rati is obtained. No. Rati is absolutely independent. So Gurudev is saying that it is in the hands of devotees who are certainly Krishna bhaktas, and only they can give it. No one else. So it's not actually in the hands of Krishna. Right? It's in the hands of Krishna's bhaktas. Only they can give it. If a man has some shraddha, but not yet rati, and he wants to experience this rasa on that unripe shraddha, then he tries to experience it by worldly emotions in the name of vibhav, sattvik, and vyavichari. What does that mean? Because in Rasa Tattva, there are 5 ingredients. Gurudev talks about this. That he explains with the example of making lemonade. You ever heard that explanation? Gurudev says, so if you want to make some lemonade, then you have to bring water, and you have to bring lemon juice, fresh squeezed lemon juice. You have to bring sugar, a couple of other ingredients. But if you take 1 gallon of water and you give a ½ gallon of lemon juice into it, and then you give, 5 kgs of sugar into it, it will not taste very good. Right? Because there's the proportions are not the right proportions to make that. So Gurudev is explaining that the correct proportions of mixing will determine how the result of the lemonade, if it's good, if it's not good, and so forth. So in the same way, Srila Rupa Goswami, he has explained in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, this is one of his very high achievements that no one has done before. He explained the components of rasa, Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu. It's the entire thesis. What is rasa? What is Bhakti Rasa? How does it come? What is the methodology? He explained all that in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So, the different, here Gurudev is explaining that a person may want to attain the stage of rati or bhav. He has some shraddha, but his shraddha is unripe. So on the basis of that unripe shraddha, then he says he tries to experience it by worldly emotions in the name of Vibhav, Satvik, and Vyavichari. Such a person is called a Sahajiya, or a cheap imitator. At the stage of Shraddha, he wants to create rasa. At the stage of Shraddha, he wants to create rasa. By so-called Vibhav, Satvik Bhav, Anubhav, and so on. These can be practiced only at the stage of Rati. What can be practiced? Those other components can be properly practiced only at the stage of Rati. Why? Because first of all, what you need to experience rasa, you need the platform upon which rasa will take place. And that is called your sthai bhav. You know this term, sthai bhav? What does it mean?
Your fixed bhav.
Meaning what?
It could be kind of like your sthita pranali, like the mood, your fixed mood that you have to serve Krishna, like like Manjari Bhav or Sakyaras, depending on according to your sthai bhav, like who you are, kind of like your spiritual body.
Yeah. That sthai bhav is in one of 5 rasas. There are 5 rasas, not more than that, not less than that. And particularly in Braj, even the neutrality rasa is not really pure Shantaras. So when a sadhak is trying to approach the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna in Braj through doing sadhan bhajan, under guidance, so we've already gone through this discussion about how you have to proceed step by step. It's not possible for somebody to say, jump from an arthanavritti stage and doing bhajan under guidance, right? Bhajana kriya. It's not possible to jump from there to ruchi. Is it? Some people think it is. This is the thing. There are actually quite a few people that think that by stirring up their emotions, which are actually still mundane. Why? Because they haven't attained sthai bhav. When is sthai bhav going to manifest in that devotee's heart? At which point does that take place?
Shakti.
Beginning only. But the actual sthai bhav, he begins to experience, but not until Rati. That's why Gurudev is saying here. In the stage of Rati, the sthai bhav now becomes manifested. It's called attaining Swarup Siddhi. The perfection of your Swarup is realized. Why? Because it's come down. It's come down from the eternal associates. You didn't force it to come. They bestowed it upon you. Shuddha sattva visheshatma prema suryamsu samyabhak. That verse. Okay? So, now that is there within the heart, now that person's heart, he's now siddha. He's not any longer in the stage of sadhak, although sometimes he's referred to a sadhak of praying. But actually he's siddha. He's realized his eternal identity. And therefore he has attained this platform of sthai bhav. And when that platform is attained, through the bhajan of the sadhak, through the bhajan of that devotee, the other 4 ingredients, they now begin to manifest. Vibhav, Anubhav, Satvik Bhav, and Vyavichari Bhav. And we can study what those are, how they appear. Even in the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada very clearly gave presentation of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in regards to all the components of rasa and all of that. So, the point that Srila Gurudev is making is that rati is not in our hands. It is in the hands of devotees who are certainly Krishna bhaktas, and only they can give it. And if a man has some shraddha, but not yet rati, and he wants to experience this rasa on that unripe shraddha, he tries to experience it by worldly emotions in the name of vibhav, sattvic bhav, vyavichari, like that. So such a person is called Sahajiya. And at the stage of shraddha, what is it? At the stage of shraddha, he wants to create rasa by so-called vibhav, sattvic, anubhav, and so on. These can be practiced only at the stage of rati. But he is trying to do so on the platform of shraddha. Well, big mistake, isn't it? Can we all clearly understand what the mistake is? So, he doesn't know. He doesn't know what is rasa. Or he doesn't know what is vibhav, anubhav, sattvic, vyavichari. He has neither staibhav nor rati. Staibhav is far away for him. And he doesn't have even the first stage of rati. Yet, on that shraddha, he wants to do all these things. So such a person is called Sahajiya. He is bound to be a Sahajiya. So we've heard this word Sahajiya all our life. Right? But we also see that sometimes persons unjustly point their finger and say, he's a Sahajiya, she's a Sahajiya. It may or may not be. A higher devotee can easily see that. But I mean, this term, Sahajiya, was written and spoken by very neophyte devotees back in the early 1980s towards the topmost Mahabhagavad on the planet at the time, after Prabhupada left. And they used that term. Then they used it again in the mid-90s for the other topmost Mahabhagavad on the planet, and used the term Sahajiya. So my point is that those persons are neophyte. They themselves will eventually become Sahajiyas, but they are aparadis, through and through aparadis.
I think isn't it most proper to refer to them as prakrita Sahajiyas?
Yeah, Gurudev is not using that term, but that term is the correct term. I'll explain that, because there are 13 different apasampradayas. Aubao, Kartabaja, Sakibeki, Gauranga Nagari, like this. 13 different ones that were identified at the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. One of those 13 is called Sahajiya. The word Sahajiya is not bad. This is something that a lot of times devotees don't understand. They think that it's like a bad word, the Sahajiya. But actually, they're naming themselves Sahajiyas because Sahaj means natural. That's what it means. Sahaj, natural. Well, so, but they want to artificially project themselves as if they have now entered into their natural staibhav relationship with Krishna. And then it becomes natural. But Gurudev is very clearly telling that here. So, but this can be any of those sampradayas, but the term Sahajiya is being used, but in actuality the term Prakrita Sahajiya is what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati told, because Prakrita means materialistic. Prakrita Sahajiya. And any other point on that?
In that it can be seen that it can be seen in such imitationists that they have materialistic tendencies. So even though they try to force such emotions in their personal life, they show very materialistic, even degrading tendencies.
No, it is clearly told many times, we've heard this, that most of them, this is Gurudev said this so many times, and even his Guru Maharaj said this. They're not even cultured people that know how to wash themselves after passing stool. Okay? That's coming from the lips of our Gurudev. In other words, they're low-class people, and they don't have any qualifications actually in the transcendental level. They may have some faith. They may have some shraddha. But they cannot follow regulated principles. This is common knowledge, especially in Radha Kundan places. They keep women or widows, and they have illicit sex, and they take intoxication, and like this. You see? So, those persons are Prakrita, Sahajiya. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they have prohibited this. And in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Ujjvala Nilamani, it is also prohibited. A person who is only at the stage of Shraddha and has not gone to that transcendental place, they should not imagine that I am a gopi, or I am a kinkari, or I am a manjari. And he should not do Ashtakaliya Leela Smaran. I told in Australia, Gurudev stopped that. Because one lady was printing up, remember I told this? One lady was printing up Ashtakaliya Leela as it's given in Govinda Leelamrita and Krishna Bhavanamrita. You know, like every 15, 20 minutes, then Krishna's doing this or Srimati Radhika is doing this. She printed it up and laminated it and put some nice pictures there and gave it out as a present to some of the senior devotees. And when this was shown to Gurudev, then that evening Gurudev told, you should not do this. Because to artificially attempt to remember what Krishna is doing at all these different times of the day and of the night, then you know what Gurudev told? He said, if you try to meditate upon Radha and Krishna's pastimes in the Nikunja, in the middle of the night, you are bound to commit offense, he said. Because your conception is mundane. What will you be doing in the middle of the night with the opposite sex? You see? You are bound to commit offense, he said. Therefore, one has to be cautious in this regard. And that's why Gurudev is mentioning this to the devotees who are sitting in front of him. He's giving this information to them. So, a person, they should not do Ashtakaliya Leela Smaran. Such Sahajiyas have tried to follow Sri Vilapa-kusumanjali or any of the books of our Goswamis, but not directly. In order to actually follow, our Shraddha must develop into Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, and Bhav. In order to actually follow. Then we can have that. We can only pray, quote, we want this, we want this. That's all we can do. We can do that. There's a lot of prayers in which our acharyas are showing us how to do that. That's healthy for us. We should try to develop our bhakti, not immediately try to immerse in that thing. Not immediately. That will take time. So, Gurudev is saying that all Babajis, they are not Sahajiyas. It's not that every Babaji is a Sahajiya, but almost all are in this category. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did not approve of them because they will think bogus things in the name of bhakti and in the name of rasa. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has explained all this in his book. So, is our greed real or not? This is the end of this previous purport. Is our greed real or not?
I didn't mention which Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote in his book, that he's claimed this in his book.
Yeah, he mentioned the title of the book is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Siksha of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in the book, he's quoting from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bhaktivinoda's. So, is our greed real or not? A guru sees whether the disciple's greed is real or not. Can a real Sadguru, can they see that? Huh? You think so?
They're in your heart.
Yeah. Can they see that?
Sure.
They see everything. We've actually seen this live many times with Gurudev, especially on morning walks. And there's so many morning walks here, right? But there's so many throngs of devotees around Gurudev on big morning walks, yeah. Like sometimes 100 devotees, right? And so, but there were so many different persons and different individuals. Some of them, I didn't particularly know them. I hadn't seen them before. And so, because Gurudev is preaching and so many are coming. And then some certain devotees, we saw how Gurudev interacted with them. But whenever someone who was not qualified to ask a particular question asked that question, Gurudev would just ignore them. He would not answer. Because Guru can see what is the stage of a devotee. Who is qualified to even ask a particular question? No, it's different if a person is just very new and innocent. Sometimes Gurudev would kind of chastise them, but he would answer their question because he sees that they're innocent and they're young, So, a guru sees whether the disciple's greed is real or not, and whether his shraddha has advanced to asakti. He sees whether or not his disciple is entering rati. All these stages, Sri Guru can see. He can tell. We should strictly follow Jaiva Dharma. In Jaiva Dharma, we see that the Guru disclosed the 11 items. 11 items? It's called Ekadas Bhav. And when one realizes one's Siddha Swarupa, in the stage of Bhav is coming, Guru can disclose to you. These are your 11 items or bhavs, moods of your spiritual body. Your name, your dress, your place of birth in Braj, your birth village, your so-called husband's name. All these different items can be disclosed by Guru. But we know that the false Ekadas Bhavs, Siddha Pranali they call it, these are false. They just give, and now you meditate on this and you'll realize that you're a manjari. I've seen it, like many years ago even. Someone goes and associates with that category of Babajis, and they come back and now they said, yeah, I have my Siddha Pranali and I'm practicing it every day and I'm meditating on my Manjari Swarup and all of this. But you know, the fact of the matter is, like, Palena Parichiyate, Prabhupada used to say that, Bengali saying, Palena Parichiyate, Phala, fruit. You judge something by the fruit. So, if someone is qualified, you will see by the fruit. We can tell by their development of qualities, especially Sri Guru can tell. But if someone has gotten this artificial, premature, artificial, so-called Siddhapranali, that's why, and it's still to this day, like Ban Maharaj especially, when he talks about this topic, you know, he'll repeat what he heard Gurudev say many times, that they will get their Manjari name. You are Rasgula, you know, Manjari, like this. You know? So it's not real, it's artificial. Yeah?
One god brother of ours
Yes.
came back and said he was told he's a peacock.
Yeah.
And he should just meditate on that.
Yeah, and then what happened?
Well, he's since made more advancement, you know, beyond that. I mean, I'm not going to say his name.
Did he call out like a peacock and all of that?
I think he was even laughing at the result of his.
So Gurudev is saying that we should strictly follow the Jaiva Dharma. And in the Jaiva Dharma, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes how the Guru disclosed the 11 items, like Vesh, Nam, and so forth, in the very end of the Jaiva Dharma. In the very end. He taught everything about rasa, and then at the last stage, he disclosed the 5 stages, like what? Shravan Dasha, Varan Dasha, and also the 11 bhavs. He disclosed that at the end. He did not do this in the disciples' lower stages. These were revealed, not in Navadvip, in the sections of Navadvip and Jaiva Dharma, only in Puri, at the very end. And in the company of a second Vaishnava also. These were disclosed. So, that's the end of Gurudev's previous purport. So now we're on verse 9. Verse 9, somewhat of a short Sanskrit here. Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Govinda Diyoki Jai 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 Shri Radha Jai Shri Radha. I'm reading the Sanskrit of verse 9. Tvad alokana kalahi. Tvad alokana kalahi damshayar eva mritam janam. Tvat padabja milal laksha besha jair devi jivaya. You can repeat. Tvad alokana kalahi damshayar eva mritam janam. Tvat padabja milal laksha besha jair devi jivaya. O Devi, with the medicine of the red lac from your lotus feet, please bring back to life this person now dead from the bites of the black snake of not seeing you. Repeat. O Devi, with the medicine of the red lac
of the lack
from your lotus feet.
from your lotus feet.
Please bring back to life
Please bring back to life
this person now dead
this person now dead
from the bites
from the bites
of the black snake
of the black snake
of not seeing you.
of not seeing you.
Imagine. He's saying, I'm dead. Please bring me back to life. And what is the black snake? Not having her darshan. He's saying this all throughout this Vilapa-kusumanjali. Not having your darshan. So Srila Gurudev's commentary. How Krishna worships Radha. There are two kinds of sadhaks. One, Vaidhi Bhakta, and two, Raganuga Bhakta. Between these two, there is a vast difference. Is it just a small difference? No. It's a vast difference between these two. The Vaidhi Bhakta identifies with the body, and he is always absorbed in the external world, remembering his near and dear friends, family members, father, mother, and considering others to be his enemy. He remembers the happiness and distress of this material world and is always entangled in this. Which bhakta? Which one of the two is he talking about? The Vaidhi Bhakta, right? Who's a Vaidhi Bhakta?
One who's following the rules and regulations out of fear.
Yeah. Not only, but
Obligation.
yeah, based upon what the Shastras are telling. There are some who don't even follow that, right? So they like to be considered as devotees, but they're really not in the category of sadhakas because they're not properly doing sadhana bhajan. If you're not trying, because Vaidhi Bhaktas are doing sadhana bhajan. It's called bhajana kriya. You take initiation from Guru. Now you follow certain rules and regulations under the guidance of Guru and so forth, and that's called bhajana kriya. So this Vaidhi Bhakta is not in a bad position. This is in a very good position. But their level, as Gurudev is pointing out, this is where there's a vast difference. What is their internal world that they live in? They're bound to live because they still identify with the body, right? You're going to ask something?
Yeah, I was wondering because Vaidhi Bhakti is also the path to Vaikuntha, and like I wonder about like the other incarnations of Krishna. If like you're worshipping Ram or Radha or some other incarnation of Krishna, and you're following the path of Vaidhi Bhakti, then you're also perfected in Vaidhi Bhakti.
You can,
right?
yes.
So here Gurudev is saying that someone in Vaidhi Bhakti is absorbed in thoughts of all their material connections also. But someone whose path is not through Raganuga Bhakti can be perfected through Vaidhi Bhakti perfectly and liberated and not absorbed in any of these material designations.
In the advanced stages.
In the advanced stages.
Right. But still, their type of prem and bhav that they will achieve through that Vaidhi Bhakti, because just like the previous Vaishnavacharyas, the four different, from South India, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, they're all teaching Shuddha Bhakti. They're teaching Shuddha Bhakti. But they're not in the line of Mahaprabhu, because Mahaprabhu didn't appear yet, although we know that they met him in Navadvip Dham, each of them individually, because Navadvip Dham Mahatmya explains how they came there. They're empowered by the Lord, and they were empowered to give a certain type of bhakti to the world, which was appropriate for that time and for the nature of the people the level of the people. So there was a maturing process that was taking place that was necessary for those Vaishnavacharyas to come and teach what they taught. And that's why when they met Mahaprabhu in Navadvip and he revealed to them, he told them that now you should go on preaching and writing your commentaries for Vedanta Sutra and all of that. Don't mention about me. Right? And they did that. And then later Mahaprabhu gave them the benediction that they would take birth in his Leela, which they did in different roles. They took birth and had the Darshan of Mahaprabhu in his Leela. So, the Vaidhi Bhakti, and the platform that they were making, I mean, even Shankaracharya, right, although he preached Mayavad and so forth, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling that he did a great service for Vaishnavism in this world. Because he separated out those who have the demonic tendencies and atheistic tendencies. Because if he hadn't separated them out, they would have mixed in and polluted. This is exactly what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. So we owe a great debt to Lord Shiva, who has come as Shankaracharya, to actually protect this Vaishnavism. So after the 4 Vaishnavacharyas came, then Mahaprabhu came. And now Mahaprabhu took 2 tenets from each one of the 4 sampradayas, 2 teachings, and like rivers entering into the ocean. Now these 4 Vaishnavacharyas had completed their work, and now Mahaprabhu used that platform that was built by them to now present this Braja Prem, the pathway, Mohabadanaya Krishna Prema Pradayate. So Krishna Prema, and a particular type of Krishna Prema. So your question is in relation to that someone can attain perfection in Vaidhi Bhakti, in the pathway of Vaidhi Bhakti, but they'll go to they'll develop a certain type of prema, Vaikuntha prema mostly. Their deity and their Ishtadev is generally Lakshmi Narayan, like that. So, but what was the exact question?
Well, I think Gurudev was like, he always says you have to come, you'll have to leave the path of Vaidhi Bhakti and reach
Can you give her the mic?
What's that?
So I was thinking here about how Gurudev is describing Vaidhi Bhakti as a stage where you're still entangled, like somewhat entangled with your material life. But Vaidhi Bhakti, for those following in the path of Vaidhi Bhakti whose destination is to serve Lakshmi Narayan or something, then they can also be perfected through Vaidhi Bhakti and not have these material attachments or material identifications.
Yeah.
But for people following in Mahaprabhu's line, that stage of Vaidhi Bhakti may be that earlier stage where they're still entangled in material life, but then is it when they come to the stage of Raganuga Bhakti that they're no longer, as Gurudev was saying here, like absorbed in their family life or material life. Like that transition will happen when the stage of Raganuga Bhakti sort of begins.
Well, try to understand that both in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and also in Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, you will go through the same stages. So a Vaidhi Bhakta, first of all, I want to point out that we're practicing Vaidhi Bhakti. We are not yet practicing Raganuga Bhakti, okay? But with the, like Raganuga Pravritti, it's referred to as sometimes, that we're very aware that our goal is to one day to awaken the greed. And therefore our sadhana is also imbued with so much, like the book that we're reading today, okay? And all these different shastras and even, the commentaries of our acharyas on Srimad Bhagavatam, all of it is directing us toward Braj, encouraging us towards Braj Bhakti and Braj Prem, okay? So But in the pathway of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, when one is worshipping Lakshmi Narayan as one's Ishtadeva, one can go also through the stages of Anartha Nivritti, Nishta, Ruchi, but it will be Vaikuntha Ruchi, and Asakti and so forth. But not necessarily going through those higher stages. Sometimes they can simply be awarded without attaining Asakti in that stage. Because we see many examples of this. But in Braj Bhakti, attaining Braj, each one of these stages one has to go through to awaken that bhav, which descends from there. Okay? So, the thing that Gurudev is pointing out here about the kind of the mundane material consciousness of the devotee, you'll see how he's explaining a particular point. So, he's told here how, of these two different types of sadhakas, the Vaidhi Bhakta identifies with the body, and he is always absorbed in the external world, remembering his near and dear friends, family members, father, mother, and considering others to be his enemy. He remembers the happiness and the distress of this material world and is always entangled in this. Sometimes, by chance, he remembers Krishna's name, but is always firmly attached in worldly affairs. If a man has worldly attachments, he may try again and again for hours to remember the holy name, but yet no pastimes will come. Instead, his mind will go here and there. Now, a Raganuga sadhak has some taste, some greed. And if he is on an advanced stage, he will step by step leave all these worldly things and have attachment in chanting, remembering, and all other services. But in Raganuga Bhajan, if he has some realization of his Swarup, he has some greed, and after all, he has some realization of his Siddhadeha from Guru, then Leela will come automatically. I'll read that again. This is a good, very rich sentence. He is saying that a Raganuga sadhak has some taste, some greed, and if he is on an advanced stage, he will step by step leave all these worldly things and have attachment in chanting, remembering, and all other services. But in Raganuga Bhajan, this is the sentence I'm repeating, in Raganuga Bhajan, if he has some realization of his Swarup, he has some greed, and after all, he has some realization of his Siddhadeha from Guru, then Leela will come automatically. And at that time, there are three stages. Antar Dasha means the inner stage. His internal absorption, okay? Antar Dasha. Ardha Bahya Dasha, that means half inner and half outer. And Bahya Dasha, the outer stage. Now in Antar Dasha, the sadhak is deeply engaged in remembering the pastimes of Krishna by his Swarup. And he has no knowledge of this world, or this body, or anything regarding the body or anything material. I'm again reading this sentence. In Antar Dasha, the sadhak is deeply engaged in remembering the pastimes of Krishna by his Swarup, and he has no knowledge of this world in that Antar Dasha stage. He has no knowledge of the body or anything regarding the body or anything material. But a sadhaka jiv, even if he is Swarup Siddha, cannot live so much time in this Antar Dasha like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? He cannot so much. For a sadhak jiv, 1 hour, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours, not more than that. So where are we? Is there even a minute? Now, Ardha Bahya Dasha means half inner and half outer, in the middle, but outer more. When Raghunath Das Goswami is in Antar Dasha, he thinks that he is doing everything and he is participating in the pastimes as one of them, as Tulsi Manjari or Rati Manjari. And at that time, he doesn't know who he is and what this material world is. All these outer things. When he is in Ardha Bahya Dasha, which means what? Half inner, half outer. Then he is remembering the pastimes and he knows himself as Raghunath Das Goswami and he is feeling separation. So much separation and weeping, rolling on the ground. Sometimes so many Vyavichari bhavs and Sattvic bhavs are coming. When his full sense of this world comes, then it is Bahya Dasha. Bahya means external. So in Bahya Dasha he is feeling separation and he knows full that he is Raghunath Das Goswami, rolling and weeping on the bank of Radha Kunda. Where is Radhika? Sometimes remembrance is cut off, and now he begins to weep so much, always weeping. So, in Antar Dasha, Raghunath Das Goswami is serving Radha Krishna Jugal. And in Ardha Bahya Dasha, he is remembering how he is serving in his inner stage and starts weeping. In this stage, he cannot write. He can only do pralap, incoherent talk, filled with lamentation due to separation from Krishna. But in Bahya Dasha, he is writing and he is offering pushpanjali to the lotus feet of Srimati Radhika in the form of this Vilapa-kusumanjali. He is praying to her for her mercy, for the day to come when he will serve her in the way in which he is seeing with his inner vision. And he is feeling separation in a similar way as Radhika feels separation from Krishna. So, Srila Gurudev is explaining this because it's very necessary at the beginning of studying this literature that we understand these three inner, outer, and in-between stages, right? It's very necessary to understand this if we are to try to comprehend and understand how Raghunath Das Goswami is writing these verses. How does he come to feel the way that he's feeling? It has to do with his antardasha, how he is participating directly in the pastimes. And then when that disappears, now he is feeling so much separation, like the verse that we're reading now. How he feels that he has died. He wants to be revived, but he feels that he's died. So when Raghunath Das Goswami, when he was beginning this book, he thought that he should do Mangala Charanam. And when he took his pen, he at once went in Ardha Bahya Dasha. What's that? Ardha Bahya Dasha. Mixed, in between. What is the, you tell me the Sanskrit for the inner darshan. Antar Dasha. What is the external? Bahya. And here, Ardha Bahya. Why Ardha? Not Antar. Ardha, because it means half. Half external, internal. Yes, so when he took up his pen, he at once went in Ardha Bahya Dasha. And from there, he went to Antar Dasha, and he saw a smiling Rupa Manjari. She saw something unnatural. He saw some cutting on Rupa Manjari's lips. She began to smile, and at once she remembered something. What did she remember? Who's the she? Yes, Rati Manjari. What did she remember? At first, we should know that who can remember? Now, Gurudev is trying to point out, who can remember anything like this? Who is on an equal stage to Srimati? All the Manjaris are about equal in mood to Radhika. Whatever she has in her prem, up to Modan and Madan, all comes in the Manjaris. Not fully, but something comes in them. And they experience Krishna as Srimati Radhika does. They have about the same mood, and this is essential for serving Radhika and Krishna. Rati Manjari thinks, I am new, and they are my Siksha Gurus. Because I am in this material world, the words of this mundane world comes. We cannot tell everything in transcendental language. Some things are bound to be expressed in our own language, that is mundane. Yet we should know that he was praying to Rupa Goswami, but he went in deep, and he began to see Rupa Manjari. He saw some cut on her lip, so he is praying in a joking manner. Oh, your husband is not here, and you are famous in the whole of Braj as a chaste lady. Your husband has been gone for 4 or 5 days. He has not yet returned, but I see that just some hours before, or last night, a fresh cut has appeared. I think that any shuka or parrot has cut your lip, thinking it to be a bimba fruit. Then Rupa Manjari looked towards her and began to smile, being so much pleased with Rati Manjari. Then later, in the 3rd verse, Rupa Goswami gives blessings to Raghunath Das Goswami. As Rupa Manjari, he gives blessings to Rati Manjari. You can write, and that writing will be the best writing. The sadhak's life of bhajan is comprised of attachment for Radha, Krishna, or Srimati Radhika, especially in Gopi Bhav. They are feeling so much separation in this Bahya Dasha, and that lifts them to Ardha Bahya Dasha. And if he is a very good sadhak, then he will go in inner stage, Antar Dasha, and he can directly serve Radhika. I'll just read a few more sentences. There is some difference between Antar Dasha and Sakshat Darshan. What does Sakshat Darshan mean? Directly Darshan. So there's some difference between Antar Dasha, that internal state, and Sakshat Darshan. In Antar Dasha, the sadhak is remembering, but it becomes more than Sakshat Darshan, and also at that time he thinks that he is seeing Radhika and Krishna and serving them. It is a spurti, not real, but also not imagination. You have to understand this. It's not real, it's not Sakshat Darshan, but it's also not imagination. Spurti. It gives so much pleasure, like Sakshat Darshan, but it is only spurti. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is feeling all these things. He is saying, a boy came to me, Mahaprabhu is telling. A boy came to me and gave me darshan. And when I wanted to go and catch that boy, then step by step he went backward. And when I ran towards him, at once he went here and there and disappeared. It seems like a spurti, but it may be that in a spurti, Krishna has come and given darshan. And Srimati Radhika is remembering and remembering in her stage of separation when Krishna has gone to Mathura. And she sees that Krishna has come. She catches hold and embraces Krishna and begins to laugh and talk with Krishna. After that, Lalita comes and asks, what are you doing? Oh, where is Krishna? What was I seeing? Radhika says. This is called a spurti. But it may be at that time, Krishna may have come and have given darshan, but still it will be called a spurti. When the aprakrita lila itself descends, then that is a spurti. If by an unnatural means we do kalpana or imagination, kalpana means imagination. So if by unnatural means we do kalpana or imagine that this or that is going on, then it is not a spurti. So we have more to read on this very juicy topic tomorrow. Yes. We'll probably finish it tomorrow. Jai Shri Vilapa-kusumanjali ki jai, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami Pada ki jai, Srila Rupa Goswami Pada ki jai, Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga ki jai, Sachinandana Gaura Hari ki jai, Gaur Premanandi. Hare Gopi Giridhari Radha Govinda Jiu Ki Jai. Jai Srila Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Padanandi. Vrindai Tulsi Bhai Priyai Keshavasya Cha. Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namah. Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Bheva Cha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnave